If you're looking for a simple way to boost your science grade, you're in the right place. Look no further than the power of observation. What? That doesn't sound simple or easy. It might sound complicated, but being more observant really is not that hard once you know what to do. And once you're a better, more intentional observer, you'll notice that if you use those skills in your science class, your grade will be on its way up. The reason I say it's simple is because the first step to becoming more observant actually is so simple. But in thinking about it, I realize it might not be easy for everyone to actually do. What is the first step, you ask? Pay attention. Of course, you already knew that. Your parents, teachers, and maybe even you yourself have told you to pay attention. But that really is the first step to being a good observer. Pay attention to what's going on around you. It does sound easy, but I think you might already be thinking about why it's not always easy to pay attention in science class. I talk about this a lot, but one reason that this could be difficult for you is distractions. For kids in this day and age, they're everywhere. There are a lot of schools currently working on banning cell phones in class, but most schools still allow students to have them with very little restriction. This means you have a relatively small object that can be a huge distraction to your learning. I know this is difficult because, if you may have noticed, this seems to affect adults and kids alike. But if you really want to improve your science grade, you have to put your phone away and any other distraction, at least for a little bit. Okay, so that's the first step. Simple. Once you're free of distractions, it's time to actually hone in on your observation skills. I think you already know what observing is about: watching, listening, and noticing what is happening. If this is something you struggle with, try focusing for shorter bursts of time. Try focusing for 2 minutes in class. If that works, try 5 minutes. Slowly start to increase the length of time if you can. And what are you doing during this focused time? It depends on what you're doing in the lesson. If you're doing a lab or experiment, being a good observer is key if you want your lab to actually help you learn and perform better on the next test. Take a look at the changes happening during your activity or experiment. These changes are meant to illustrate the concept that you're learning about. So if you can pick them out, you'll be well on your way to answering any questions that accompany your lab. Look for obvious ones, but if you can, look for the more nuanced changes as well. Does something that physically happens in the lab tell you something? Can you learn anything? For example, if you're observing a chemical reaction, what happens when the solution bubbles? What does that tell you about the materials that are reacting? Or if you're observing the growth of a plant, what has changed about the plant today? What does that tell you about its growth or plant growth in general? Your lab instructions and resources can certainly help you with this, but sometimes the questions there are either not deep enough and they're too simple, or they're nuanced and they're confusing. If you can get in the habit of observing the changes in every lab you do naturally, you'll have at least a terrific start into incorporating the lab into this and other science concepts that you're learning. But what if you're not doing a lab? Definitely not every day is lab day. If your teacher is talking, obviously you're listening, but there are things you can do in your head while you're listening so that you're also being an active listener. See if you can pick out what you think is most important about what they are saying. If you have a good teacher, they're probably giving you strong clues to emphasize the material that you're learning that is really important in order for you to do well on your next assessment. Another thing to do is think about how what they are saying connects to your everyday life or something that you've learned previously. There is a large body of research in the field of education that says when we're learning new things, we learn them and retain them a lot better if we build on what we already know. Another thing you can observe and look for to build on in your overall understanding of the science concepts are patterns. Patterns are a huge part of science, and the good news is that it's not learning something brand new that you have no prior knowledge of. If you are spotting patterns, it means that you're connecting the pieces together. When you connect those pieces together, it allows you to see the bigger picture of the material. Now, I'm not saying every question you get on your test is going to be a big picture question, certainly not. But understanding the big picture makes it so much easier to understand the little details that support it. And observing patterns helps you figure out that big picture. There are tons of other ways you can observe and be a better science learner. I go over exactly how to do this, walk through examples, and give you practice exercises so that you have a step-by-step method in my Science Skills Accelerator online course. I'll show you how to strengthen your observation skills in a way that will help you start to boost your science grade by your very next science class. If you're interested in learning more, Science Skills Accelerator is linked in the description below. If you want more tips, different tips to work on your science grade, I'll be posting more videos like this shortly. Or if you don't want to wait, you can always download my free guide, 10 tips to improve your science grade, from the description below. Thanks for being here, and I hope to see more of you soon.